Okay, so here we have the next batch in there. We cooked these for 20 minutes. I already taste a little bit, like that little corner you see right there. Taken off, so I mean a little nibble, but I mean it's got that marvelous, like biscuity flavor. It's a little grainy, ever so. Well, I don't know. It's almost like the normal crumbliness of a biscuit is simply just kind of turned up a bit, which is hardly a bad thing. For my purposes of really being able to binge on these a lot more, oh, there's so much almond flour that, binging is like 3. In order to binge on them more, I would prefer to keep that ever so slightly, just a little bit crumblier than a normal biscuit, almost veering into the uncanny valley of keto treats made with almond flour that are just like eating like sand or something. I would rather keep that, seeing that they are definitely good enough for being able to eat more of them. Because I'm not sitting like, oh, that was okay. I'm sort of like, oh, I totally want more of that. And really, also keep in mind, a lot of times, once you can get used to a texture, I mean, look at that. That's okay. Let's zoom in. Sorry. So you definitely see. I mean, that's not a texture. Let's see, can we do it any tighter? That might be good. That's really not a texture that's that far from a biscuit. That'd be a piece of bread? Absolutely not. But that's why we have biscuits and we have bread. Even the way you put the butter in, all those little beads and stuff like that, so like clumps up in the flour. That's so that you get that flaky crumbliness, because each kind of layer of the butter kind of doesn't meld with everything else. Those are good. I mean, they're crumbly, but they're fantastic. I love them. They're very crumbly, as you can see, but totally, workable, usable. I mean, you cook up some bacon and eggs, you pop them on there. You obviously can't make like a McMuffin sandwich out of these. They're too crumbly. Who cares? Put it on your plate, load that stuff. Open face biscuit thing, load those things up on there. Oh yeah, those. Oh, you put some butter on there? Mm-hmm. Oh yes. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah. Put a fork in it. That's how you'd have to eat something like with meat and eggs and gravy and stuff like that. And yes, don't worry, I'll work on a gravy recipe. Oh yes. Put a fork in it. It's done. This Kut Keto recipe is beautiful. I guess I'll have to. Oh, this is. I'm just binging on my biscuit. But as almond flour tends to do, probably by the end of this one, especially as I'm putting butter on it, I'm gonna hit that one. I'm gonna hit a wall the size of, the size of Massachusetts. And I'm gonna be like, okay, I'm full. That's pretty amazing. Quite happy with that. You hear me eating. I mean, trust me, I wouldn't be like chowing down, I wasn't even chowing down on them yesterday. I mean, I liked them, definitely. But they were hardly. It's almost like the texture, the grainy, ever so slightly grainy texture, makes you keep eating them. Because instead of being like off-putting, like your typical keto biscuit, it's like what's it called? Like not a sugar cookie, but kind of like a sugar cookie, but those sandy cookies, where it's like the grainy, sandy, sweet texture just makes you want to keep like eating them just for the fun of it feeling like your teeth are biting through a delicious hunk of sand, like not bad sand, good sand. So these are like that. They're really, I like these a lot. Wow. And if you don't believe me, then go ahead and assume that I eat things I hate this fast, just for the sake of likes and videos. That was good. I like those. That is absolutely a keeper. You saw it here, folks. Since my life changed, we're back in action with the Kut Keto. And this is the first recipe I designed, executed, and now present to you. And I guess I can write up a PDF and sell it. Huh, how do you sell PDFs? Can you sell PDFs of recipes on Etsy? What? I need to look this up. I was not expecting to be this successful this fast. Okay. The thing is, well, all I can do in that regard, and I'm like, well, how am I gonna, how am I gonna be able to like convert it to an oven? Like, well, who says I have to? I mean, this was trial and error, and a lot of this is trial and error. I simply, this is new depression cooking. We're entering into interesting economic times, so you got to make do with what you got. I can't go out and get a stove, so I will present to you how I cook it. But just like people have to make concessions for being at a high altitude or having a convection oven versus a conventional oven or whatever, they're going to have to tweak it according to their circumstances. I give you the basic framework, I give you the ingredients. But really, if you already bake, if you're not grabbing the Pillsbury Doughboy and smacking it on the side of the countertop, you're probably, versed enough to be able to adapt my times with, turn stove to the first click where it's not super hot, and then bake for 15, 16 minutes, maybe. If you're going to be willing to make these things in the first place. And really with keto, you end up having to do that a lot. Otherwise, you eat the really expensive prepackaged food that might not taste that good. Or, the really expensive prepackaged food that does taste good but is really expensive. So you already have to do a lot of fudging if you're willing to go this route in the first place. Otherwise, you just eat, beef and broccoli, which is fine, but also keep in mind, some of those keto setups aren't necessarily going to be the best for every person. For me, I do not feel safe doing full-on keto. I need the therapeutic effects for the anti-inflammatory stuff, but I would never try and do full-on keto nursing my kid the way she nurses these days. And she is healthy. When I went to the ER the other day to address residual effects of miscarriage and such, the doctor was like, wow, that is a healthy kid. I mean, you're healthy, but that kid is healthy. I mean, she's nothing but beast mode, because really she's pretty much nothing but ketones. Between the breast milk and also just our kind of Kut Keto lifestyle. So now we have even more Kut Keto, and I'm definitely feeling those biscuits settle. That was 3 biscuits, and I'm sort of like, yeah, life is good, and I don't think I'm all that much hungrier. So that'll definitely keep you versus like the, just fluff and air biscuits that I had, where, you could just keep eating and eating and eating and eating and eating. And that's the great part about flour. It's just so delightfully fluffy, and it all condenses in your stomach as nothing, so you could keep eating and eating and eating. So let's go ahead and at the thing. So you have 23 carbs in 1/4 of a cup, and I used 3/4 of, or a whole cup, so that's 23. Let's go ahead and bump that up to 25, so that's about 100 carbs in 1 cup. And I think the recipe says it'll make 12 biscuits. I'm not sure if I've gotten that number when I've tried this, but let's go ahead and go with that for, what's it called, reasonable sake. So 12 biscuits. 12 biscuits. Let's see, 12. So let's see, 100 divide it by 12. Let's see, what goes, 8 times 12 is 96. 9 times 12 is 108, I believe, yeah. Yeah. So that would mean that there's about 8.5 carbs per biscuit. I had 3 biscuits. I don't think I'll have any more for a while. 3 biscuits times 8 carbs is going to be 24 carbs, and that's roughly what I'd have in my bacon, egg, and cheese sandwiches. If I had toast with it, I usually like make a sandwich and add a toast. So that's going to be the 2 slices of bread, which is about 23 carbs. It's going to be, let's see, what else? What else would it be? Peanut butter and jelly sandwich before you add the peanut butter and jelly. And even those are not necessarily super high on the carb thing. So therefore, you're going to get lower carbs even with a sandwich like that. And if you only have 2, that's, you know, well within my limit for 150. So I would say yes. So each one of these is going to be about 8 carbs. Even if you're on the 20 carb a day plan, you bake these up, and especially if you make them smaller or something like that, recalculate and recalibrate. Essentially, if you have 20 carbs a day, and if you fudge that just a little by 4 carbs, you could have 4 biscuits. That's right? Yeah. No. You could have 3 biscuits. Yeah, 3 times 8 is 24. Yes, because 3 times 7 is 21. So you could have 3 biscuits. 3 biscuits. And that means you could have a nice bready little treat for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. You know. And if you're doing just 20 carbs a day,